Hi, I'm Rob.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And we're back for yet another conversation about video games. And this time, we're looking at something that everybody has been saying, utterly unique. It's so unique, it's so original, and I'm going, nah.
Is it Stabby Phoenix right time?
It is Stabby Phoenix right time. It is time for Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Now, if you've ever played a Danganronpa game before, then you know pretty much what to expect from this game. But if you've never played a Danganronpa game before, and you're interested, then prepare for some lunacy.
Yeah,
you know?
but this series is just stupid in a fun way.
Yes and no, right? I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Danganronpa fan out there. I know that there are diehard fans who will probably try and lynch me, and I say, come on then.
It's a game series that I have played.
Yeah.
I've played the first two in the series. There is some issues with the series that I will point out later on.
Yeah. See, this is the thing, right? Danganronpa is effectively a killing game, right? Dressed up as it's a high school based killing game, in fact, which seems to be a very popular story in Japan, and I don't know why. But you do have a lot of these stories about high schoolers being involved in killing games, which is, number one of the reasons why I don't consider it to be that unique. I think the whole angle using ultimates is pretty interesting. So you have, like, the ultimate of this and the ultimate of that and the ultimate of the other. And that was the case for the first two games. Now, this is the third game in the main Danganronpa series, right? And basically, you start off as a student called Kaide Akamatsu, and she is kidnapped and wakes up in a locker in the Ultimate Academy for Gifted Juveniles, where she meets fellow student Shuichi Saihara and 14 other students. The group is then abruptly accosted by several robots who identify themselves as exocells, and piloting these exocells are the Monokuma Cubs, 5 of them, who are like a Power Rangers version of Monokuma. And if you've played the first two games, you'll know who Monokuma is. And if you haven't, Monokuma is basically a half-black, half-white sadistic bear who acts as kind of the teacher of Hope's Peak Academy, which is where the killing games take place. Now, the fact that you have the Monokuma Cubs, you know what's going to happen. And one of the students has pretty much guessed what's going to happen. So, the Monokuma Cubs expose Kaide and the rest of the students to what they call the flashback light. And then Kaide wakes up in the same locker wearing a different school uniform and thinking that she is the ultimate pianist, the ultimate piano player, right? And this is where things get a little bit interesting in that the story is not quite the story that you think it is, right? The story is a story within a story within a story. There's a lot more going on here than people first think. But what happens next is typical Danganronpa. Monokuma turns up, says, you're all at Hope's Peak Academy, you are all taking part in this killing game. If you can kill someone, get away with it, then you're free, and if you get caught, then you'll be executed, yada yada yada. And so, let the killing game show begin. And you go through the killing game show, and you basically do the class trials with your truth bullets, your bullets of truth, and you piece together all the evidence that you found during your exploration of the academy and the events that happened, and you accuse somebody in a Phoenix Wright style accusation, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. If you get it right, hooray! You move on to the next part of the story. If you get it wrong, death. Start again. And
yeah, it's kind of like, it sounds more of the same.
It is very much more of the same in terms of the actual game, what little of game there is, because Danganronpa is less a game and more a visual novel that has bits you can play, right?
Yeah.
Which is one of my first gripes with it. There is a lot of reading in this game, or in this visual novel, and that's fine. You know, all the characters are unique. And the actual setting originally was quite interesting, but they've added to that setting by adding a behind the scenes to that setting, So there is more going on in the background than you think, right?
Mhm.
And the problem is, with the unique characters, there are 16 of them, and you'll get attached to some, you won't get attached to others. But the ones that you're not supposed to get attached to, it's very linear, it's very binary in how it approaches the characters because of the way the story is. So there are characters who are going to die, and there are characters who are, going to be executed, and you can actually tell which ones are which if you just read between the lines and have some degree of reading other murder mysteries, like Agatha Christie or or Arthur Conan Doyle or any of the others, Patricia Cornwell or various murder mystery authors like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can read between the lines. And it's even more predictable if you are familiar with anime and manga and familiar with the whole death game scenario, like Mirai Nikki and Real Accountant, stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with those sorts of things, the actual storyline becomes a little more predictable. You can start actually seeing within the way that they've explained things, within the dialogue, within the text, little clues. And that may be a purposeful thing, or it may just be the easy way of telling a story. I don't know. Okay? But
I think the idea is that there's enough there for you to pick it up, and then there's enough in there for you to pick it up, but for you also to kind of feel quite smart about it.
See, I didn't feel quite smart when I was playing it.
But I got off the first two, and I kind of at some points I did, and some points I didn't.
Yeah. See, for me, I played the first two as well, and the first one, I'll admit, Trigger Happy Havoc, is actually quite a good game. The setting and the use of ultimates, and it always only being high schoolers, that's a perpetual gripe with me. Why the hell is it always school-based? What happened to the heroes of my age?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's so people their age can identify with them more.
Yeah, but you understand what I mean. It's a perpetual gripe, and it seems to be it's one that's perpetuated because of anime, but I'm not going to get into that. The problem I have with Danganronpa is that once you get past a certain point, the formula is exactly the same. And it's accessible to people who... this is one of the big differences. It is accessible to people who've never played Danganronpa before. It's very easy to pick up, right? If you're looking for something weird and wacky and Fruit Loops and just plain strange, then Danganronpa is very, very easy to pick up. But this may be a little bit too strange for some people.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. It's one of those ones where it's I think a lot of people go in expecting it to be, oh yeah, it's stupid, it's funny, and then I think they get to a lot of the reading. I mean, I know people who were really excited to play Danganronpa because they'd seen the anime beforehand, which is not a good idea because you kind of spoil the whole story and there's not much else to it.
Yep.
And then once they played it, they're like, oh, there's a lot of reading in this, and I think they kind of give up after the first or second trial, and it's yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I say it's more a visual novel that has bits that you can just happen to play. See, here's the thing. Spike Chunsoft have been making Danganronpa, and Danganronpa is kind of their flagship at the moment. It's their flagship game at the moment. It's their most popular game, I think. And it's understandable why Danganronpa has the popularity it does, to a degree, right? But past that, I don't understand why Danganronpa has kind of the cult popularity it does, because there's not really much there in terms of substance. It's a visual novel, and it's got some good ideas, but ultimately, Danganronpa V3, in terms of its story, and I have to focus on the story, because the graphics are basically the same as Danganronpa 2 and Danganronpa, and the other additions to the Danganronpa franchise. They're very stylized anime graphics, right?
Yeah.
The character designs are very stylized. You know exactly what to expect. If you've ever looked at any Danganronpa artwork or any Danganronpa game, you know exactly what to expect from the graphics. The controls are pretty much the same in terms of the exploration. You still have the reticule, which you can focus on particular things and, highlight various options about those. And the exploration around the academy is pretty much the same. You navigate in broadly the same way. So the story is the main driver for this. ultimately what you have, and this is a spoiler if you've never played the game, so if you are interested in playing the game, close your ears right now. Ultimately, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony is some weird anime crossover of The Running Man and The Truman Show. And that has more relevance than you think because it's, because the story is everything. And this is the thing, once you get to the end of the story and you know exactly what's going on, things like that, the game loses a bit of its luster. And I think that's not necessarily a good thing. I think that, it's one of my perpetual things. I don't like it when magicians explain their tricks.
Yeah, I completely agree with this because I was playing through Danganronpa number 2.
Yeah.
And I got about halfway through the game, and I was talking about it with one of my friends, and they went, "Oh, yes, I was really gutted when that person killed that person," and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm not even that far yet."
Yeah.
And then that really put me off actually just touching the game again because I knew that some of my favourite characters were going to die.
Yeah. See, this is why I haven't talked about who dies and who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I've not mentioned that at all. And the reason why is because that's part of the fun of playing the game. You don't know who's going to die first and you don't know who's going to die next. And that's the essence of a whodunit, right?
Exactly.
And Danganronpa is literally a whodunit. Yes, it's out there and it's outlandish and it's weird and it's got Monokuma and the Monokuma Cubs and it's got this ridiculous setting and it's got the flashback light and all sorts of other things, right? It's got all of those things, but it is still fundamentally a whodunit murder mystery.
Yeah.
Just kind of with the stakes raised a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose it is. And to be honest, there's not a huge amount on top of it. There is something I want to ask because this was my biggest gripe out of the games.
Yep.
What are the mini games like in this one? Because I'm not going to lie, I hated them in the first and second games.
Oh, the mini games.
Yeah.
Oh, those wonderful, wonderful mini games.
You know, the point where you know what to do, you figured out what's happening, but in order to show that, you've got to do a daft mini game where, for example, on the PlayStation Vita, required you swiping your fingers across the screen so you can't actually see what you're doing.
Yes.
That kind of mini game.
Yes. How do I phrase this? Danganronpa has some stupid games and it has some ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think the main issue for me was, as was said before, this is essentially a visual novel. Yeah. So when a visual novel stops actually being a visual novel and requires you to play little mini games, which is you'll play this one mini game. Well, you'll play the same mini games. There's probably once every 10 hours.
Well,
once every 5 hours. You don't play the same mini game 3 or 4 times in the space of an hour, really, do you?
Well, this is the thing, right? The games themselves, they originally started off as like interactive metaphor type things, but now you actually have reskinned versions of Minesweeper, simplistic dancing games, and various other things like that. And they do have some narrative purpose, I suppose, but they're so stupid, and the game would actually be better off without them. So,
I mean, for me, that's kind of how this series differentiates itself from, say, Phoenix Wright, which is very much in the same vein as this one, except there's no school kids killing each other.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Danganronpa ultimately is trying to be Battle Royale. We all know it, And yes, I went there, Danganronpa fans. But that is the truth. It's trying to be Battle Royale. Because, hell, every single killing game that involves high schoolers is trying to be Battle Royale. Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the Danganronpa fans will even know what Battle Royale is.
I hope they do. Because if they don't, I'll be very disappointed.
It's the Hunger Games for you young ones.
If you like the Hunger Games, think the Hunger Games, but with Japanese school kids and a lot more violent.
Yeah.
So everything a growing boy needs. No, anyway, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony, if you're a fan of the original 2 games, then there's more for you to love here, right? If you've never played Danganronpa game, and you are interested in playing something weird and wacky and out there and just totally nuts, then give it a try. But if you're like me and you are familiar with anime and manga where they have a lot of these killing games involving high schoolers, you might find the game a little predictable, especially as it's not really a game, it's a visual novel. And is recommended, but I think that it has to be one of those recommended where you have to take it, you have to factor in what you know about the game, what you know about the wider Japanese mediums of anime and manga. Because if you're familiar with anime and manga, you'll get a lot of what's going on in Danganronpa, but that also has a flip side, because it also means that you're probably familiar with some of the approaches that Danganronpa takes with its story, things like that, and that can make the game kind of predictable.
Yeah, and I would just like to add one more thing. If you are interested in playing a Danganronpa game, do not Wikipedia any of the characters. Do not look for fan art of any of the characters. You will be spoiled. If you talk to your friend and they start talking about them, push your friend down some stairs.
Not literally.
Here at the Geek Show, we don't condone pushing people downstairs.
No.
Unless it's spoiler related.
No, unless they deserve it. So, anyway, that's Danganronpa V3. Leave us a comment below. Subscribe to the channel. Over here, we've got some other conversations about video games. Over there, we've got some interviews that we've done with people around the country lately from EGX. And up there, we've got our Patreon. So, show your support us on Patreon, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I have been Rob.
And I've been Mark.
We'll see you all later.
Bye.